Parents, you need a phone.
Go on. If you go on Hebrew books, you can maybe download the Sicha. Here I have one sefer over here. It's Chilik Tesvav. Pashas Vayeira. It's the
What's the
Pashas Vayeira.
Vayeira?
Vayeira. It's the third Sicha.
Hebrew.org.
Well, HebrewBooks.org. It's the third Sicha. This.
Thank you for clearing to me.
Listen, somebody's got to do it.
Somebody has to prepare. We're a team.
That's what I'm hired for.
Good luck. So the life in the library, you're working all over.
Oh, wait a minute.
I just downloaded it. Let's see if I can download so you can find it.
Okay.
It's page 122. And we'll do some inside and we'll see how much we can do inside and the rest we'll save our pen. The idea of this Sicha is connected with the pasuk in this week's parsha, where it talks about how Avraham Avinu says, "Vayita Eshel v'Shava." Avraham Avinu planted in Eshel, and there's what the Mepharshim explained that Avraham Avinu had a rest stop at a place where people would come and people would stop by. Yeah, that's Eshel Achila Shafir Lino, and so the Gemara says, the Gemara in Sotah Dafyu, the Gemara says that Vayita Eshel v'Veshav v'Yikra Sham b'Shem Hashem Keil Olam, says the Gemara that Lamed Shehikri Avraham Avinu Shmo Shekadosh Baruch Hu b'Fi Kol Oive v'Shav. Avraham Avinu called out, and he brought to recognition. He made people to know about the Eibishter. How did he do that? The Gemara says that after Avraham Avinu would give them to eat and give them good food, so afterward when they finish eating, so they wanted to thank him. So the Gemara says that don't thank me. Avraham Avinu said, don't thank me, thank the Eibishter, thank the Rebbeinu Shloim. The Gemara finishes off. They all thanked, they all benched the Eibishter, the one who said, and the world was created. If I don't have copies. If you have look at the Sichas on your phone, in Hebrew books, you could see. Right. Okay. So this is what said. This is what it says in the Gemara. Now, in the Medrash adds a small little addition. Until now, we know those who came. Avraham Avinu said, "Thank the Eibishter," and they thanked the Eibishter. Says the Medrash, what were those people who didn't think the Eibishter? They didn't want to thank the Eibishter. Avraham Avinu told them to think, and they didn't want to thank Hashem first. So the Medrash said that Avraham Avinu told them, "You're not going to thank Hashem, then you're going to have to pay for whatever you ate." And when someone, let's say, for example, in the desert where there's no other way for him to get food, there's no super, there's no market where he can go and he can get food. So the prices automatically are a lot more expensive. Everything's a lot more expensive. So he said, I'm going to charge you the price for how much it is to get something in the middle, of the desert, the middle of nowhere. So, and it was a lot of money because he gave them very good food and it was very expensive stuff.
Tongue.
That was for the malachim.
Probably for them too.
Could be.
Did they have a credit card?
And maybe, but even credit, you have to pay. You have to pay by the end of the month.
Well, let me ask you something. I mean, it's kind of a weird question. If I go into a restaurant and have a menu, generally, maybe if my budget includes soup and fish, and et cetera, but I'll see how much they cost before I order. Yeah, it happens sometimes. Oh, they come, they bring you the bill, and they kind of like, but they didn't ask.
Right.
Listen, it was in the desert. Thank God they have something to eat.
They didn't have a
They would
choice.
eat anything they had.
Right. Right.
No choice. And very rough.
Right. You know, you're asking a good question.
Now they're charging $500 fast, right? Because you need it.
Right. You're asking a good question. You're asking a good question. I'm not sure. You know, as they say, a kasha I say. I'm not. You can't ask a kasha namaisa. But that was the Metzius Hadvarim. Obviously, Avram Avinu was able to do it in a way that they couldn't dray out of it. So they couldn't try to get away from it. So they were stuck.
Maybe he
They were
gave
stuck
them
into
the
it.
choice. He said, "You'll pay or you'll bless."
He told them that's what he told them.
I think that's what.
And they ended up they were scared. They didn't want to pay for so much money, so they blessed. So
So
now,
בתוך שלו לשמו יצא לשמו.
let's see exactly. We have to understand what was happening, what was going on over here. Similarly, the Chayre comes out that when these people benched Hashem, said thank you to the Eibishter, seemingly they weren't doing it because they actually had a real recognition, really recognizing that belongs to Hashem and it deserves that we should thank Him. Rather, they're doing it because they had no other choice. They were stuck. They didn't want to fall into big chayvus, so they think wasn't coming from a true and real recognition, nakara, that the right thing is just the right thing to do, to thank Hashem. So the question is that how is this? This is all coming to explain how Avraham Avinu brought the recognition of Hashem to all the whole area, to the whole place, to all the people passing by. How do these people fall into that category? What does it mean to give recognition and recognition in Hashem that they actually recognize, they actually understand, they have to thank Hashem? Someone just doesn't understand he has to thank Hashem. He's just saying thank you Hashem because he's forced him to say it. But he doesn't really believe it, doesn't really understand it. So how does that mean that he taught them about Hashem? He didn't teach them about Hashem. They weren't taught. They didn't change. They didn't recognize. They didn't understand. They didn't learn. They were just forced to say something, so they said it. How does this fall? When we're talking about those who did it from their own wills, we understand. They understood. Avraham Avinu taught them about Hashem. They understood about Hashem. But they're able to think Hashem. But those people who didn't didn't think Hashem willingly, they're just doing because they were forced into it. How do these people fall into the category of those who Avraham taught them about Hashem?
It's another question. Who said these people follow? Let's believe they recognize Hashem. בכל הרכוש שעשו בחרן, it's all the people that be Mekaren. Who said they're going to follow him? They hate the following.
Who?
Later on, one of the psukim said, "B'chol ha'rechush asher asu
Chol
b'charan."
HaNefesh,
Chol ha'nefesh, right? So this nefesh, these people that start believing in Hashem, they follow Abraham Avinu because they went after him.
right.
So who said when he tell them, you don't recognize Hashem, you have to pay. They say, okay, we recognize. They're going, saying, Hashem, thank you. And then they're following.
You're asking who said they're going to follow?
Right.
Yeah, seemingly they shouldn't follow because they
Right.
didn't. They didn't. The fact that they're only doing it because they were forced into it, because they were scared that if they're not going to thank Hashem, so then they're going to have to pay
But a lot
money.
of people.
But they didn't
follow.
really. What?
But a lot of people follow.
Right, but the question is that it's two. Let's make it. The question is really two questions. Number one, what was the point of this? What was the point of forcing them if they're anyhow not really believing? Those who are believing, so they believe, they're understanding. These people are anyhow not really believing. They don't really believe in it. Seemingly, they're only doing it because they're forced into it. So what's the point? And also, the pasuk, the Medrash says that this is all part of Avraham Avinu bringing recognition to the Eibush in the world. How is this? How would the second category of people who didn't do it from their own, who didn't thank Hashem from their own will? How does this fall in the category? Fall in? How does the Medrash say on this? That this is what it means that Avraham Avinu taught Hashem into the whole world. These people, you want to tell me that the first category of people who did it from their own will? That I understand how they fall in this category, but the second division, who they weren't doing it from their own will. So how do they fall in? How could we say on them that about these people that Avram taught them? Avram taught them about Hashem. Avram didn't teach them anything. They just said a few words unwillingly.
But Abraham did not make mistake there. Why didn't put a little note there? If you eat and recognize God, it's for free. If not, you have to pay.
Because then Avram Avinu.
But he tricked them. He didn't put this note.
Right.
But
Because that was his whole reason why he made it. Avram Avinu wasn't a restaurant waiter. His whole idea why he made this whole eshel was all about to be mefarsim to the Shem Hashem about the Eibush to the whole world. So Avram Avinu did this the dafke in order that people should fall in this situation, and they should have to thank Hashem, should be able to learn to serve Hashem. But this basically the question is, what are we gaining by forcing people who unwillingly don't want to thank the Eibush? What are we gaining by forcing them into something and making them making them think the Eibush? This is the main question. So the Rebbe over here in the Sicha is going to take a whole different approach about this whole idea. As just give the nekudas advarim, give the nekuda of before we go on. What's the nekudas hadavar, and then afterwards we'll explore a little bit more. When Avraham Avinu forced them in, similarly suppressing on them that they should think the Eibush, it's not the pshat that when they just did it because they were suppressed into something and they were doing something unwillingly. Rather, the pshat is that through suppressing them, he broke them in a certain element, and by breaking them in a certain element, then they were able to actually understand and comprehend whatever Avraham Avinu taught them, and they actually think Hashem from their own recognition. It's not the pshat that they were thinking the Eibush because they were forced into something. It was the forcing in was only a way how to suppress them, and but the suppressing brought out in them that they should be able to actually understand how they should understand how the right thing is to believe in Hashem and to think Hashem. The question is, what we have to understand is that we know that we find in the Ram, the halach in the Ram is, the Rambam says in Hilchos Gerushin that the halach in a get is, if someone wants to give a get, so he has to do it. It has to be.
Sorry.
Yes, to say
Ratzani.
He has to be. It has to be from his own will. if he force someone into a get, it's called a get mu'usa. It's not kosher. It's not a kosher to get. So but there's halacha that says that what if someone in certain situations Bezdin forces the husband to give a get to his wife? So the question is, how could Bezdin force someone to give a get if he's doing it by force? Then it's not a kosher get. It's not that it's not from his will. So it's a forced get. How could a forced get be a kosher get? So the Rambam explains that really every single yid be'etzem wants every single yid wants to be mekayim the mitzvahs and listen to Chacham. Just that he has a Yetzer Hara, and the Yetzer Hara is not letting him do what he really wants in what he really bipnimius, what he really wants to do.
Working overtime, Yetzer Hara.
Sorry?
Yetzer Hara working overtime.
Oh yeah. So the lashon of the Rambam Yitzvah we should talk for. And when you suppress him and you force him, so what happens when you suppress and you force? It causes a tashash. Yitzvah causes that the Yetzer Hara should come a little bit weaker. Weakens the Yetzer Hara. Once the Yetzer Hara weakens, so then it comes revealed his true ratzon that he really wants to be mekayim to the mitzvah. He really wants to do what the Eibishter wants. So when a person gives a get, forcing by being forced, seemingly looks like it's being forced, but really is not being forced. The forcing is just the suppressing. Is just the forcing is just the way how to suppress him, how to make weaken his Yetzer Hara, and once, but really he's doing it from his will, from his ratzon. So, but this is by a yid. Yid is a nefesh l'kis. Yid is a nefesh l'kis. The neshama naturally wants to serve the Eibishter. So, because he naturally wants to serve the Eibishter, wants to be mekayim Torah mitzvahs. So, any time that he's having, his Yetzer Hara is fighting over him, is trying to overpower him. That's only it's an external, something chibsoni, which is trying to overpower over his real pnimius of what he really what he really is. So there you could say that when you suppress them, when you give him when you're forcing him, you're all what you're doing is that you're weakening the Yetzer Hara, and the ratzon of the neshama should come out. That's by a yid, but by a goy who doesn't have Yetzer Hara. So how by suppressing him? How by suppressing him and telling him that let's go back to Avraham Avinu. Avraham Avinu suppressing the people who are coming by and suppressing them and forcing them to think Hashem. How by forcing by them are what they don't have an natural case, so you can't say that they have something natural that they want to serve the Eibishter. So what are you doing? By through suppressing them, how are you causing them that they should do it from their own will?
But Arabim, they have so many people that they don't want to give get for years and years and years. You read in the Jewish course, Sivovei get. They have 2010, 2019, 2020, 2009, years and years. And they're written their name and everything, where they live, and they don't get problem.
Yeah. There are other places where we find this idea that through suppressing, through suppressment, it brings out the real ratzon, the real will, what a person does, and Memela he's it brings out the real pnimius of a yid. We find that it says every kol yom v'yom baskel yotzes me'achayre, baskel comes up from Sinai, and it makes an announcement, right? That seemingly means that oy, I don't know how to say the exact translation for in English, but oy is woe for the creations from the embarrassment of what comes to them because of their lack of studying Torah. Because anyone, whoever is not Isaac, is not involved in Torah, is called a nozif, it's like a certain, so it's almost like cursed basically. So the question is, we're talking about obviously about someone who the only way how to describe him is that he's a bria. There's nothing. He doesn't have any other meaning to say. Doesn't have any other maila. Doesn't contain any other and nothing special in him that he has, other than the fact that he's a creation of the Eibishter and he's a Yid. So we're obviously talking about someone who's very far from Torah, very far from understanding the maila of Torah, very far from having a recognition, recognizing what Torah really means. So you're going to go to such a person and tell, we want to be motivated him for Torah, we want to awaken him, arouse him that he should start learning Torah. What are we going to tell him? You should know that because you're not learning Torah, you're cursed. That's the way we're going to catch him. That's the way we're going to bring him. Immediately tell him, explain him the milah of Torah, the beauty of Torah, how Torah is so beautiful, how Torah is so great, and then you'll convince him. You'll catch him. You'll bring him. You'll get him that he should want to start learning Torah. Oh, very good, very good. But how about coming and telling someone that you don't learn Torah, you should know you're called a nazir, you're cursed? How is that the way that? How we're going to be motivated by a person that you should want to start learning Torah?
But I have a statement. It said "Ve'amer kulam tzadikim." No such a thing. Any Jew is a tzaddik. Even though he doesn't have learning Torah and everything.
So this is you're touching on something where a little bit where the Rebbe is heading to over here, but this is just another than the pshat is that really what's causing the Yid that we should want to learn through this baskel, what's being motivated the Yid to learn Torah is not the baskel. Every Yid, b'teva, has a neshama. Every Yid, b'teva, neshama wants to learn Torah, wants to be Yosef Torah. But what's the baskels? What are the baskel doing? The baskel is just, there are some people who that their neshama is more open, and you're able to reach them more in an open way. So if you'll talk and you'll say the milah of Torah, you're able to reach them because their neshama is open enough that the moment they hear something about Torah, something about the milah of Torah, they'll ignite and they'll wake up. Then there are some people that they're so lost, and they're so not lost chas v'shalom, but they're so involved and indulged in their gashmis, in their life, in their gashmis life, in their weltship, in the welt, in whatever they're doing, that they're it's almost that there's a blockage. There's a little bit of a blockage, and by talking about the milah of Torah, you're not can't reach them, because there's something. Even though they themselves they get it, they have a neshama, and then neshama wants to learn Torah, but there's a blockage that's not letting that we can reach them. We can reach the neshama that they have. So for that, we have to break a little bit the chumras. You have to break a little bit their what would be the exact title for chumras? Their mundane, their physicalism, their mundanism. Is that a
materialism?
Their materialism. Yeah, you have to break a little bit their materialism. But it's not the break. It's not the bas. This is what the baskel is doing. It's not the baskel which is being motivated them to learn Torah. They themselves want to. A Yid, just by being a Yid, wants to learn Torah. He doesn't have to come to a baskel. He doesn't need a baskel to want to learn Torah, because a Yid naturally on his own wants to learn Torah. But he needs a baskel to break the materialism. That once that materialism is broken, now could the real Ratzon of the Yid could come out.
Rabbi doesn't have to have another baskel to give chizuk. So beautiful. Look at all the Yidden that are learning Torah.
So this is what the Rebbe is explaining, that a Yid naturally wants to learn Torah. A Yid wants to learn Torah because he has an neshama. That's why he wants to learn Torah. He doesn't need to come to a baskel. He needs to come a baskel to wash away the other stuff which are covering up. Covering up his neshama. So for that he needs the baskel. So that we have the baskel every day. The baskel is suppressing, he's shaking you up a little bit. You get a little bit shooken up. And then the real Ratzin, the real you, the real Yid, the real Neshama of Yid starts to come out. And this is where this here is revealed how he really wants to learn Torah.
They have a schut, whoever doesn't learn Torah, to hear bat kol.
Every Yid hears the baskel. Every Yid is a baskel. Based on this mahalach, that when we're talking about certain situations where where through suppressing is bringing out, it's the doggish. What we're trying to stress is not the suppressment, or rather, we're trying to the suppressing is bringing out the real Yid, the real neshama. The Rebbe goes on to explain a very, very interesting Gemara. The Gemara says it's in Masechet Taanis, Gemara Masechet Taanis. The Rebbe Lazar, but Reb Shimon, he once met a person, and the Gemara says that this man looked very ugly.
Mm-hmm.
So Rebbe Lazar, but Reb Shimon tells this person, Reika, you empty. How ugly does this person look? So this person, what did this person answer? Rebbe Lazar ben Shimon, go to the craftsman who crafted me, who made me. So here we have to understand the question: what in the world is going on? You have Rebbe Lazar ben Shimon, the Heilig Tana of Rebbe Lazar ben Shimon, and this is what he's telling a person. He's telling a person, he's telling him that, what type of ugly man you are. This is what he's telling him. And more so, we really have to understand what was Rebbe Lazar besides the fact that it's not polite. How does Rebbe Lazar do such an unpolite thing? But what was Rebbe Lazar? Rebbe Lazar didn't know the answer. Rebbe Lazar didn't know that the Eibishter created him like that. So what was his question to begin with? What was the chatchila? What was he thinking?
Right?
Rebbe Lazar Reb Shimon, yeah. Rebbe Lazar Reb Shimon Bar Yochai. But the Rebbe explains, so obviously, when it says Kama Mechur Adam Zeh, how ugly this person, we're not talking about, doesn't mean, and we're not talking about the physical ugliness.
Yes,
Rather the physical ugliness came because inside it was very ugly. So what was Rebbe Lazar trying to do? What are you trying to tell me? Oh, you're ugly. You're an ugly man. You're an empty person. What are you trying to do? That was the thing. You're trying to curse him out. What are you trying to curse him out? He saw that this person, you're going to try to reach him through oil, through light, through explaining him of beauty of Torah, the beauty of the Eibishter. You can't reach him. This person is so far, he's so empty that you're not going to reach him by explaining the light of Torah, the beauty of Torah. You're not going to get him. So what did he have to do? He had to shake him up. He had to tell him, you're empty, you're ugly. He shook him up. And all of a sudden the man said, Leich le'uman sha'asani. He started to know, there's a uman sha'asani, there's a ribono shel olam. It's not that he wasn't, it's, and so it's not the pshat. Rebbe Lazar Reb Shimon, Reb Shimon wasn't asking him a regular physical question. This person wasn't telling you an answer that Rebbe Lazar Reb Shimon didn't know. Rebbe Lazar Reb Shimon knew the answer. But Rebbe Lazar Reb Shimon, through telling him, Kama reik adam zeh, Kama b'chur adam zeh, he was able to bring out in this person that this person should say, Leich le'uman shasani, that I have a uman. I can recognize that I have a uman shasani.
But how about it said, אפילו חרב חדה מונחת על צווארו של אדם?
Yeah, you shouldn't.
Don't be that.
So what's your question?
But Rabbi Shimon didn't know that אפילו חרב חדה. He's a מכוער. He's ugly. He doesn't know nothing. But he had a statement that says pasuk that even you have a sword on your neck, you can make tshuva.
Right, but you can make tshuva, but you're trying to find a way how to be moited into the tshuva. You can make tshuva. You could always do tshuva, and you do tshuva. You could always the Eibishter could always save you. But we have to awaken him to do tshuva. We need to have something to awaken him. There's another interesting sort of story. What the Rebbe goes on to explain over here. There's a Maisa of the Rebbe Rashab. At the beginning, when the Rebbe Rashab came, Rebbe Rashab's father passed away in Yud Gimel Tishrei Tov Resh Mem Gimel. That was the 13th of Tishrei, 1882. 1882. That was the Rebbe Rashab's father, the Rebbe Marash, when he passed away. Now, the first year, it took a while for the Rebbe Rashab's Messias to develop, so to say. It was taken by step. Beginning, it took a good few years till he officially accepted being Rebbe of Lubavitch. But till then, there was for a short while after the Rebbe Marash passed away, the two brothers, the Rebbe Rashab and his older brother, they almost were Rebbe together. They both said chassidus, and people would come in and ask eitzes in Gashmius, eitzes in Ruchnius. They both did it together. But there was a person once entered the Rebbe Rashab's room, and he needed a big Yeshua. He was obviously in a very big tzum. And he started to go to the Rebbe, and he asked the Rebbe, I need a Yeshua. I need a salvation over here. We need to figure something out. But the Rebbe Rashab said that you can't do anything. So the man, he's in a very big tzara. So he leaves the room, leaves the Yechidus room. He comes out, he goes out the room, he starts crying. So the Rebbe Rashab's brother, which he called the Rebbe Razah, so he sees this man crying. He asks him, why are you crying? He answered, I need this. I'm in big tzara. I need this big Yeshua. I'm not getting it, so that's why I'm.
Went to your brother.
I went to your brother, and he said I can't do anything. So that's why I'm crying. So the Razah enters the Rebbe Rashab's room. The Razah says, "Well, what type of seder is this? Someone comes in with need a Yeshua, and you say you can't do anything." The Rebbe Rashab calls him back in. The Rebbe Rashab gave him a bracha, and you became a Yeshua, and Baruch Hashem, everything is okay. Here comes the question. What was Meikara Microsoft or Lubasef Microsoft? What was the Rebbe Rashab thinking before, and what happened afterwards? What was the Rebbe Rashab before? The Rebbe Rashab, obviously, the Rebbe Rashab had a valid reason why he told him not to. Why he said I can't help you. And then afterwards, when he starts crying, when his brother tells him, how can you do such a thing? If he had a valid reason, so why did he give him a bracha? And if he was able to give him a bracha, so why before he said he couldn't do anything? So what's trapped in this mice? So this is the Rebbe explains that sometimes to be a keli for a bracha for the Eibishter, you have to have it's a very big bracha. You have to be a keli. You have to be the right vessel. You have to be the right vessel to contain and to accept the bracha. The Rebbe Rashab saw in this person that this person was not a kelim, was not a vessel, didn't have the right kelim to contain and to accept this bracha, this special Yeshua, what he needs. So therefore, the Rebbe Rashab had to break. Had to say, I can't do anything. Let the man feel broken in himself. But through the breaking, through the suppressment, through being suppressed, it broke. It broke through a place or a part that were in him, that if he was not a keli, he wasn't able to accept this Yeshua, and when it was broken, it cleansed him, it made him, it refined him, that he was actually then, when he came back into the room, he was a keli, he was able to get the Yeshua.
So why didn't tell him, I don't give you a bracha, but go out?
Because
he didn't know that his brother in the other room, that he came out and was crying, and his brother said, go back.
There's more than one version of that story.
That's what I heard.
As I said, there's more than one version of the story. So,
but this is the way. This is the way how the Rebbe brings it down in the Sicha.
But it happened. He may not have been next door. He may have been down the block, etc.
Whatever it is, Vinish Dvi, The Nakuda the Rebbe Rashab basically had to tell him in the beginning, make it sound like that there's no hope. I mean, when by him knowing that there's no hope, he was very broken about it. But not that there was no hope. He just had to tell him that there's no hope for him to be broken about it. That by him being broken, he'll able to give it. So let's take this idea and let's go back to Avram Avinu. By those the Ivrim Meshav by Avram Avinu. Avram Avinu by Avram Avinu is looking to be Mefarsim the Eibishter in the world. There are some, and Avram Avinu is busy teaching people about Hashem, busy talking and telling and teaching. But then there are some people who Avram Avinu is able to reach. They didn't fall and they're not stuck and they didn't get too farchat. And they don't have this blockage, and therefore Avraham Avinu could reach them. Then there are some people who they're stuck, and they're blocked, and they're so stuck and blocked that they don't have the yicheles. They're so sunk into their whatever they're stuck in, whatever they're in their gashmits and their chumriyas. They're so indulged in their materialism that they don't even have the ability to even just to understand. We're not talking about a yid who has a neshama. We're talking about that a goy who doesn't have a neshama, but has the ability to understand the Eibishter. Every person through seichel and even from seichel and munshi, even from a material seichel, material point of view of seichel, could understand and recognize from the world that is a Rebbeinu Shalom. Yesh Valabayis Labirazu. But when there are some people who they're so sunk in and they're so far and that they don't have the ability, they're not going to be able to, they don't understand. So Avraham Avinu was shaking them up. Avraham Avinu suppressed them. Told them, you're not gonna think the Eibishter, you're gonna have to pay for all the wine you drink and for the meat that you ate. And this person was suppressing him. He was causing him a little bit lachas. But it's not the pshat that because of the suppressing, because it was being suppressed, because he was being forced into, so that's why he was saying, that's why he was thinking the Eibishter. He wasn't thinking the Eibishter because he was forced into, but rather through being forced into, through being suppressed, that broke him a little bit, and that gave him the ability that Avram Avinu's teaching about Hashem should connect and should click in it, that should be able to understand it.
Video on somebody on something about that. He fortunately became a gala or something and cleaned the book.
Yeah.
Restoration.
Yeah.
So we come to the Rebbe. He told the Rebbe, I cleaned the book about restoration, even though I'm a Jew and this. And like very interesting. The Rebbe take the book and throw it on the floor.
Yeah, you see the video.
Right?
Yeah.
Then the Rebbe told him, somebody sometimes is so sick, he doesn't even know he's sick.
How sick he is.
Sick he is, right? A couple years later, somebody saw this guy in the Yerushalayim, the Christian, with bears and beard, davening.
Was it the same person?
Same person. In other words, the Rebbe, like you said, the Rebbe wake him up.
He needed a little bit of a shaking when he shook him up. That we're talking about a year.
That he was like, and he said, I think the book that one less Jew would read something so bad. Don't think I took it because I want to read it. Throw it out. Right?
Able to see, yeah.
Or David and video.
You have it on video. You go on Google it. It's a fascinating video.
But the point is that even a Jew like that, it's like it was Makarim with the Richu, with
So the Rebbe learns out from here a very, very big idea. And a lot of times we go on Mitzvayim. We go to Yid, we find the Yid and tell him, try to much him, go, come put on Tefillin, come take a menorah, hear Megillah, do Mishlech Manas, take some matzah, whatever mitzvah we're talking about. And sometimes, and the guy says, you know what, fine, we much him, and we much until he says, okay, I'll do it for you, I'll put the tefillin on for you. Suddenly someone can ask, so what are we really gaining from that? A person is going to say, oh, I want to put on tefillin. But so I'm doing something. The Yid realizes the Yid wants to do a mitzvah, but this guy he doesn't really want to do it. Is he gonna change afterwards? He's gonna be the same person, the same not interested in this tefillin, the same not interested in Yiddishkeit, the same far from Yiddishkeit. So what am I gaining by taking him, pulling him onto the street and driving him crazy till for him one time to put on tefillin? So besides the fact, one time putting on tefillin, what one time a Yid putting on tefillin, that's all the when he does a mitzvah, it's a yichud nifla that stands forever and ever. But that's besides the fact. But here we have another nekuda, is that true? What seems like is that you're suppressing him, you're pushing him, but sometimes through the push is not. It's not the push which is causing him to do it. The push is just washing away the covering, his blockage, is what's blocking him from his real yid to come out. But when you give that little push, when you give that little shaking, that shaking, here the real yid is going to come out, and here he's going to put on tefillin because he wants to put on tefillin. And when the real yid is going to come out, it could have an effect, and not just at this time, it can have effect in his whole life. They should have a whole that all of a sudden he'll have a turnaround, and he'll have more of a drawing to be Mekayim Teirim. This is the nekuda which we see. This is the hero which we learn out. This mice of Avraham Avinu. That sometimes it seems like that we're suppressing. It seems like that we're pushing. It seems like we're enforcing. It seems like that we're imposing. But the imposing really is not imposing. The imposing is just cleaning up. And the cleaning up, then we could reach out to the pnimius and bring out that pnimius that it should shine, and she motivated him to be a Elchayid.
School in addition to Zion.
Yes,
14,
23.
14, 15, 16, right? So the Chabad Yeshiva Rochel, everybody is to go put feeling over them when they're coming out of school. So some parents says, I don't have. You can't post or put them in the book of that. So he went all the way to the government. They make a law. You're not allowed to put a table with this right by the school. Outside the school, but not right by the school outside. And now with the government wing, the no white one, see the whole school start dancing. We were gonna be allowed to put filling in this. But we see all of them, the whole against.
Was because it was the left government that did it.
Like against the principle, against everybody.
Well, we
Inside the school now, inside the school. All of them.
Need one more.
One more. Mario now, but we went.
One more. Let's come in. Menachem Werner, Shakun.
Somebody's coming in a second.
When I was in Eretz Yisrael, so I used to go to my yeshiva. It was near Haifa. It was Migdal Emek.
Okay.
So I used to go to Kiryat. You know what I used to go to? Kiryat Tivon.
Yeah, the one in the left of the left.
The left of the left. I used to go there.
That's a tough place to go.
The real Meretz.
The Rebbe, there's a shliach in Kiryat Tivon. The Rebbe said, expressed, Kiryat Tivon is a shvere, Menachem Altes, yeah. Kiryat Tivon is a shvere Medina.
But speaking of left, my sister's best friend at the yeshiva that we went to, the head of Meretz, Naomi Chazan. She went to yeshiva, and then after yeshiva, she went to the Quaker Friends School in Washington, D.C. Her father was the Israeli ambassador, so Ambassador Harmon. So she was Meretz.
Wow.
Pretty disgusting.
I don't understand. It's a beautiful area. I like the phone. Why do you need to stay with me?
Our old yeshiva friend, Naomi.
Bring him more, I tell him, if you don't pay,
Which of course has no merit.
you understand my head? I was a
Because
Rabbi.
Maybe after the Sicha, we understand it wasn't just that he had to force them because there was no other way that they'll thank Hashem. It's because the forcing these people, they needed to have the forcing, they needed to have the shaking. Yeah, they needed to have. It wasn't just because technically there was no other choice. They needed to have that.
Thank you. Don't forget Nefasha.
Thank you very much. Wednesday, I'm coming. Yeah. He said two Sundays. Tuesday, I told him I'm not sure. Okay. Just let me, I should give you my number. Yeah, I could, yeah, it's in, 347. I have a phone. Oh, I have a phone. Yeah, 347 678 5645.
My country's called for.
Just let me know by. Yeah, okay. What should be more? Just start starting. So we had to get front. You go, somebody goes the street. You better get. Yes.
Yeah, you are going somewhere to the street.
Okay, but that can model, maybe if I do it, that can model is little, it's not gonna, so very needed, really hard to do. Maybe I'll go with it.
Didn't we have?
Oh, you know, let's see, what's the name? Eric.
Your was the Robin accident. He forgot that. The car was over.
You're the wrong?
What?
You're the wrong?
My car was towed.
Yeah.